SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. They can plague the best of businesses. Those gaps between income and spending that can create a cash flow chasm. The Commonwealth Bank's General Manager of Working Capital, Elizabeth Huxley, says balancing the books is becoming increasingly difficult for many of her customers. But, she says, help is at hand, with a new system that allows businesses with cash flow issues to temporarily borrow money against their unpaid invoices. Elizabeth describes the current working capital landscape to Jeff Waters.
What we're hearing from customers at the moment is that it's still a difficult time. There's still a lot of increasing in costs and pressure on businesses, and that hasn't changed over the last sort of 2 years. You know, with increasing in interest rates, supply chain disruption, which is still happening, and also, you know, talk of a recession. It is really on top of our customers' minds. And traditionally, working capital and cash flow wasn't something that small businesses really thought about. But now we're finding that it has become a dinner time conversation because of the uncertainty that we're seeing in the market and the pressure that small businesses are feeling because of cost of living, cost of doing business rising.
You use the word pressure. How bad is the situation at the moment?
I wouldn't say it's dire. I would say businesses are starting to think a little bit differently around how they manage cash flow. You know, they've been challenged in the last couple of years. They're having to pay out funds earlier than what they have in the past. And so there's a working capital or cash flow gap. And so they're having to be innovative. And that's what we're seeing. And we know small businesses are really creative and innovative. And so, you know, it's on their mind. And they're thinking and working with partners like CommBank to be innovative around how they manage that cash flow gap.
Well, let's look at some definitions. Can you tell me, please, what is working capital and cash flow? Why is it important that small businesses understand it?
So there's a lot of complicated definitions of working capital out there, but the way I think about it is just really cash flow. So having enough funds to run your day-to-day operations. So looking at what is your cash flow in and cash flow out. So we've got an example of a customer more recently who's actually had to pay their supplier a lot earlier than what they ever had in the past. So that gap between when they'd pay out funds and when they'd receive them from their customers has widened. So that's really that cash flow gap that they can work with partners like us to fund. And why is it even more important now than it has been in the past? You know, that cost pressure has meant, you know, things are changing in the environment, and with supply chain, some businesses are wanting to secure more inventory than they ever have before. And so with that comes a need to actually having to pay cash out earlier and more of it. And so that's why it's become really important now, more so than ever before.
So when customers come to you asking for help, how do you help them?
There's a number of ways that we help, and I guess we've been working with customers for some time, and for CommBank has developed a new working capital facility called Stream Working Capital, which is a really easy facility that's available for customers. So we directly integrate with their accounting package providers, being Xero, MyOb or QuickBooks, and we can actually take the invoice information directly from their accounting package. And why is that really important? Because we're moving away from traditional funding that says you must have bricks and mortar. So we're using for working capital a more flexible collateral, which is unpaid healthy invoices. So in effect, we're working with customers to understand what their invoices are and really unlocking the cash that's stuck in those invoices, to be honest. And that's how we're helping customers.
How does this differ from other business lending products?
It's actually just another product which is in our whole sort of toolkit that we can help businesses. And so it's really working with businesses to understand what their need is. And if their need is working capital, then obviously we would help with that. The obvious way it's different is we don't rely on bricks and mortar.
How can working capital financing options help small businesses face challenges like rising costs and disruptions to cash flow?
Yeah, so a great example is a customer that we worked with probably about 12 months ago now in the healthcare industry. So a really important industry for us, aged care, that they were a labour hire business. So what had happened during COVID is they obviously needed to supply a lot more talent and people into the market to help with the increase in demand. But with that is a lot more cost pressure on them. So they had to recruit and find the talent that they needed to put into those businesses. But it also meant that gap between, you know, when they would pay money and when they would receive money had widened substantially. And so the Stream Working Capital facility that I mentioned before, we integrated directly with their accounting package. And we were able to provide them with funding really quickly based on their invoices because they didn't have any bricks and mortar.
So what you're saying is that you're providing loans, short-term loans that are secured against unpaid invoices. What is the cost to the business that's doing this?
So the cost is very competitive and aligned to that type of funding. So the cost would just be similar to your traditional loan, except it's collateralized in a different way. And so obviously pricing and the cost of that is unique to each customer situation. But I guess it's more an opportunity cost from a customer as well. If they're not using a facility like this and they don't have bricks and mortar, they're just not going to get any funding to drive the growth of their business.
And I'm interested to know how this works from your perspective, because as the bank, you're taking the risk, assuming that these invoices are going to be paid. How can you be sure that you'll get your money back?
We partner with Waddle, which is a fintech that we partner with for a platform. So that allows us to integrate directly into the customer's accounting package, and we're able to get that invoices. And obviously there's a lot of checks and balances that go in place via the platform to make sure that they are healthy, unpaid invoices that we're funding.
All right, then. Well, how can managers get the best advice on the right options for them and their business?
A good start is the CommBank website. There's a lot of information available on that website. We've also got a business cash flow tool that's available to help businesses understand what their gaps might be, and a few other things that might help small businesses that they weren't aware of. You know, there's a lot of inside information and daily reporting that we can provide. There's also a benefits finder. But the other way we can do is we know that, you know, small businesses do partner with accountants and brokers and even advisors. So we're working really closely with accountants in particular and make sure we're getting the word out there and spreading the word of working capital, because we know that there is a gap in understanding of what working capital and cash flow financing is across all businesses. So we play an important role with working with those partners to spread the word on how we can support small business in a really simple, fast and easy way.
That was Elizabeth Huxley, General Manager of Working Capital for the Commonwealth Bank. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow @BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast.
SoundCartel.